Hey, what's good fam? In this video, I'm going to break down how the bus effects work on the SP-404 Mark II and walk you through how I actually use it in my beat making workflow. Long story short, there's 4 effect buses, which means you can have up to 4 effects running at the same time. But buses 1 and 2 and buses 3 and 4 are kind of set up to do different things. Think of buses 1 and 2 as the performance effects, for example using the DJ effects looper while jamming on the beat. And buses 3 and 4 as the master effects, for example throwing the 303 vinyl sim over all the samples to compress the overall beat. First up, let's look at buses 1 and 2 and the 2 different ways to route them. Hit Shift plus Pad 16 to open up effect settings. Here on this screen we can see what signal path a sample will go down depending on which bus its pad has been assigned to. Assigning a pad to bus 1 or bus 2 is very easy, and I'll demonstrate that in a second. Now, currently the bus routing configuration is set to serial. That basically means all samples assigned to bus 1 will be processed by the bus 1 effect, then the bus 2 effect, and then go into 3 and 4. But all samples assigned to bus 2 will skip the bus 1 effect and just have the bus 2 effect on it before going into 2 and 3. For an example, I have this beat. These are my sample chops. And my drums. Now, currently all the pads are lit up orange. This is telling us that they are all assigned to bus 1. I want to assign all the drums to bus 2, so I hit bus effects to select bus 2. I then hold down remain and select the drum pads. Now they're lit up green, which tells us that they've been assigned to bus 2. Next, I'm going to put the isolator on bus 1. You can hear that the isolator is affecting the sample chops but not the drums. On bus 2, I'm going to put the DJ effects looper. And you can hear that the DJ effects is affecting both the bus 1 and 2 pads. So that's how it works when the bus routing is set to serial. Now let's head back into the effects settings, push in enter, and on the screen we can see buses 1 and 2 are now in parallel mode. What this means is that the bus 1 stuff will only have the bus 1 effect on it, in this case isolator. And the bus 2 stuff will only have the bus 2 effect on it, in this case DJ effects looper. Right, so what if I wanted my little sax sample here on pad 5 to not be affected by either the isolator or DJ effects? To do that, I hold down remain and then hit the pad so it now lights up white. This means it's not assigned to any buses, and my beat now sounds like this. Okay, now to check out buses 3 and 4. Back in effects settings, I'm going to switch on buses 3 and 4 by turning the value knob to select one of the presets. This is one that I've made, which consists of cassette sim with a little edge to round off the highs and add just a little flutter. Then the compressor with everything set to 0 and the level lowered to avoid peaking. This is a very subtle setting which I find glues the mix together without squashing the drums. Now, something that I should mention at this point is that the sax sample on pad 5, which I assigned to no buses, is not being affected by buses 3 and 4. This comes in handy if you have, say, like an intro sample you don't want to have affected by the master buses, but usually I like to have any sample that's in the beat going through them. So I'm going to assign it back to bus 1. In my videos, when you see me performing a beat that's in the pattern sequencer, this is my usual bus routing setup. All the sample chops to bus 1, all the drums to bus 2, and the bus routing set to parallel. This way I can jam on the sample chops and get real loose with the effects while the drums remain solid. Before I demo that, there's one more trick I'll show you guys. If I want to mute, say the drums, I select bus 2, then hold down Shift plus bus effects to mute everything assigned to bus 2, like this. Okay, now I'm going to resample my pattern to a pad, throwing all this stuff together. One last thing I want to cover in this video is how I often have my bus routing set up while actually making the beat. In effects settings, I like to have the routing set to serial and buses 3 and 4 bypassed while I'm still experimenting with effects on samples and resampling. Also, any pads I'm not testing effects on at that time, I assign to no bus. I'll explain why. Here's what my main sample chops sound like now. But here's what they sounded like originally. I knew they needed some love, but I wanted to hear them in the beat with the drums while testing out effects, until I found the right sound, which turned out to be the warm saturator. Here's how that went down, and remember, the effect is only going to be on the sample chops, not the drums. With that how I wanted them, I resampled those chops and exchanged them with the originals. Finally, let's talk about stacking all 4 effects layers up on each other, which is what I did with my sax sample. Here's the original without effects. The effects I put on it went in this order. Bus 1, isolator. Bus 2, reverb. Bus 3, cassette sim. Bus 4, sync delay. So now I resample that to a new pad. Right, that's about all there is to that. I hope this has helped in demystifying the bus effects thing. Let me know in the comments what you think and if you have other creative ways you'd like to route them buses. As always, thanks heaps for watching guys. Laters.